you're welcome. But if you are not joining us for the very first time, you're still welcome. As promised, this is going to be an amazing moment with a guest in the room, and this particular section is targeted at writers, publishers. If you're a writer of any kind, and especially if you write books, this is for you. We want to talk about how you can make money from this. We want to talk about how you can grow from wherever you are, even if you're just starting. So please tell someone, share this link, like, please subscribe. Yep, please subscribe. And I have in the room here with me, I wish there was a bell so that we would ring it. In the room here with me is a very close friend in the writing industry. I'm going to read a brief bio of him. Mr. Eneye Lawal. He's a jack of all literal trades and master of many. He's a corporate event, should I call it host now? And then a writer too, an author, a teacher, and an AI enthusiast. Yep. Mr. Lawal, as he is mostly called, is a graduate of English and Literary Studies from my own awesome university, PAU, yeah, Prince Abubakar University, Ayimba, Kogi State, Nigeria. And some of his books, yes, like we said earlier, he's a publisher. Some of his books include June Tunes, yeah, Thou Shall Write, that's very interesting one. I think we should get one of those. Companion to Writing Poetry, Story, and amongst others. So please, let's make it up. Mr. Eneye Lawal, we're so happy to have you.
Good evening. It's a delight to be doing this with you, and I'm so hopeful that the viewers who are back in their houses, driving, or wherever they will watch this from, will getting value from the convo.
So before now, we would shoot. Before now, we let out a link for people to drop in their questions. And I'm telling you, the questions we have is choking. Guys, I've seen questions that I won't be able to answer myself. So we are so glad to have you here in the studio with us. And just to make mention, please feel free to still drop your question in the comment section. Even if you are seeing this video late afterwards, drop your question in the comment section. I promise you it will be answered. So Mr. Lawal, let's take a tour. Can you tell us about your books?
Okay, so like you said, I've written quite a number of them. But all my books are not paperback books.
Okay.
I read a little survey that showed that if I want my books to be scalable, I have to, move from the traditional way of publishing to ebooks. And so many of my books are in the ebook format, particularly you get them on Seller. So I have June Tunes. June Tunes is a collection of poetry I wrote in one beautiful June month. So I was just having an experience. I just said to myself, okay, let me put these experiences together into poems. So I was writing poems every day. And when I got to the 30th day of that experience, something just made me move the book from just being poems I shared online to a physical book. And one of the experiences I've had so far is someone reading my book before me and crying, and this person happens to be an adolescent girl. So I meet an adolescent girl cry, that's right. So I wrote that. I also wrote Thou Shall Write. That's an ebook. Thou Shall Write is the book that anybody who is still grappling, is still having issues with writer's block should read, because one of the things I said in that book is writer's block does not exist. It should not exist, because I've not seen somebody who say I have speaker's block, or I have cooking block, or I have running block. It does not exist in that sphere. So why should it exist for the writer? As we move on in our conversation, we would be looking at some of those things that we've been told that do not exist. So I wrote Story. Story is the book I wrote for writers, speakers, people who have stories, who have experiences that are gold mine. So how to turn your experiences into so how to use your experience to build trust, because we're in a world where we don't trust the next person. You know, I don't know if you trust me, but let's talk about that point. So trust is the problem. So I discovered the way to break that barrier is storytelling. So I wrote the book Story to help the average person, the writer, the speaker, write or tell their story in such a way that it moves people to make certain decisions. And then recently I released the book. It's titled Sell Yourself. So that came from an experience. I discovered that a lot of persons are disadvantaged in life, not because of village people, not because of their background. Let's take 𝗏𝗏, for example. 𝗏𝗏 is, please forgive me, 𝗏𝗏. I think the only thing 𝗏𝗏 has, basically, is that he knows how to speak bad English very well. That's one thing he has. But this guy has been able to sell himself to a point where there's almost no celebrity that in Nigeria and in the world over, that there are few in the world over anyway, but in Nigeria that this guy has not built a relationship with. But what did he begin with? He began with having bad English and a lot to say. But because he started showing up with what he has, he built a following, and he's who he is today.
Just to take note, most of your books are springing from different genres. I think that's why while we were introducing him, we said he is a jack of all literal trades, but he has mastered many, right? So I want to ask a question, which is from one of our audience. It says, with over 80% of aspiring writers reportedly struggling to define a consistent niche in their first 3 years, right? How can one find a niche that aligns with his personality, passion, and as well as the demand of the market?
That's a beautiful question. Now, there are so many ways to go about answering that question, but this is the tour I want to take. There are so many books that are published in a day. If you do the statistics, if you check statistics, so many persons are writing books. I'm sure somebody's even writing a book. I'm sure somebody's putting that book out either as an ebook, audiobook, paper, back book. Early of, particularly when you are a writer or someone who is thinking about writing a book, I would say we find our theme along the way. So that thing about purpose is a very interesting conversation. Maybe we'll have that maybe sometime. People try to find a purpose before they move. So you see them on mountains trying to know what am I about, but that's not the matter. The matter is, particularly with books, a book is a piece of writing that solves a problem. That's what a book is. When we're talking about self-help books, there are different genres of books.
Please, you would have to take note. A book is a piece of writing
that solves a problem. So that's the idea. And when it now comes to niching, I would say before a writer thinks about niching, explore your writing abilities, right? So, but you should be more motivated about solving a problem than niching. I think one of the reasons why people stay at that point where they are about to write a book, and they stay in about to write a book for a long while, is they're trying to find purpose before writing. The best way to become an author fast is to find a problem, right? Find a problem that you can solve with writing and put that thing outside. Now, you would always struggle with the books already published because there are so many books have been published over time, right? But when you find a problem, meaning that thing you're writing about, there are people who need solution to them. So when you have a solution to a problem people have and you write your book about that, you would always find buyers for the book. What people do is they just sit down and then they write things that they're passionate about that the market does not need. And so these books struggle. So the first thing I would say to anybody who wants to be an author is that you are writing a book not for writing's sake. You're writing a book to solve a problem. So find a problem that people have and people are willing to pay for to get the solution, and craft your book around that. So it is problem before book.
So this brings me to my, that was wonderful. This brings me to my second question. The question here is, that is not even the concern. It says, what truly makes a writer's voice distinctive enough to command attention?
Okay, so I want to take a different turn to answer that question. Number one, use AI to write. So I don't know, people will say don't use AI, and there's nothing about using AI. But I would recommend that you use AI to refine your writing, so to make your work better rather than it writing the book for you. But that's just my own idea. You can do anything you want to do with AI these days. So how do you become distinct? If you are trying to find your voice early enough, early enough in your career, you can wait for a long time. I remember a friend of mine, when I started writing poetry, a friend of mine at this time had written a number of books, and I would tell him, I'm finding my voice, you know, yes, I'm finding my voice. So that sounded very interesting. So I kept on writing. At the point I did a 100 days poetry project. So I wrote poems for 100 days, day 1 to the 100th day, and then I kept that. And the goal was to find my voice. I want to find the way I sound. But that's like Buddha, you know, going on a journey for enlightenment. We should not be doing that. You should have, particularly when you've developed your skill in writing, basically be the kind of writer. This is how I answer that question. Be the kind of writer that prefers solution. What people buy is not a book. Nobody goes to the market to buy a book. You know, when I learned that, it changed why I write, how I title what I write, and how what I write comes. So the thing is, nobody goes to a bookstore to buy books. No, people go to bookstores to buy solutions to their problems. So when I am having a problem with leadership, okay, and I go to the bookstore and I go to the rack, I'm looking for a book that can solve the problem I have. So these days people go to the bookstore and they flip to the contents and then they check, you know, this chapter, you know, that chapter. If it aligns with what they want, that's when they get the book. So you want to be the writer that, when you are a writer that solves problems, you will always sell. But if you're a writer that wants to be an author, you will struggle in the market because you write something that nobody needs. So why would somebody spend their money on you when what you have is not selling? Okay, your family and friends can be so kind, right, to give you the money. But people would buy your book and recommend their friends to buy that book. You would have solved their problems, or you understand their problem enough to make them feel a certain way. So those are the kind of books that would always not suffer in the market.
This answer question 4, because the person was asking, it says many writers remain aspiring authors for years. What are the clear indicators that a writer is genuinely ready to transition from casual writing to professional publishing? I think that should answer it slightly. So another question I want to ask is, for you just spoke about like 100 days challenge. You're right. What are your routines for writing? You know, footballers have routines for training, right? And so many caterers, chefs, yes, they have routines. What are your routines for writing? You personally, on a personal note, what routines do you keep that keeps you writing?
Okay, one that helps me a great deal is I have a healthy community around me that writes. I have a group of about 200 persons. I hope my count is fine. It's a writers group. It's called Writers Den. So they are all poets there. We spur ourselves to write. So I'm in that community. Like, there's so many things about my life now. I'm not the person I used to be when I was fresh out of the university. A lot of things have changed about how I, move around the world. I have that group. Today we have an open mic session. So everybody brings their poem and then you read and we critique. So even when I don't feel inspired, or even at times where I get choked with work, because I know that there's an obligation to write, there's a necessity for it. I'm in a community. So one thing that helps the person who wants to break into the writing space is find a community that can serve your cause. When you have a community around you, it can be maybe poets, it can be novelists, it can be dramatists, whatever genre, piques your interests. Find a community that's what they engage in. And you find the community everywhere. You find them on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, even on WhatsApp groups, right? So join those communities. What happens is iron sharpeneth iron.
Okay.
Right? It's the Bible and it's true. It says the companion of the wise will be wise. So if you go with people who do this thing that you have a flair for, naturally there is a propelling force that moves you into writing. Let me make an example with 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗁 now. You find out that a lot of them would always cash out. It's because they have, Yahoo boys have what they call a 𝗕𝗂𝗶𝗁. It's a community, right, of fellow Yahoo boys. So this person just cashes out now. He just collects money from they are not supporting Yahoo boys, right? But for the case of analogy, this person just cashes out. What happens to the others in that group? They want to do so. So there is a fuel that comes with community. So when you have a healthy community around you, you would naturally write.
That alone brings me to my other question. The question I want to ask now is, how does it feel when writing becomes an obligation? Is it smooth? Have you been in a situation where writing becomes an obligation before? And I think you just mentioned one, belonging to a community where it's compulsory for you to write once in a while, or once in a week, or once in a day. I think what 𝗂𝗍 has this, I think I recently joined his app. I downloaded his app that spurs you to write. Yeah, Snipfic, right? It spurs you to write. It gives you prompt and be like, write about this topic every day. Just like less than 1,000 words, write about this topic. Less than 100 words. So what happens when writing becomes an obligation for you? If you've been in that situation before, how does it feel? How do you keep up?
Let's put it this way. A human would, and this is a driving philosophy I have, a human would respond based on his or her environment. Now, the point of having a community, like I mentioned previously, is that it makes writing, or it makes the activity become second nature. So what you want to achieve as a writer, or whatever you do, is you want that thing to become second nature. And how it begins is, it begins as an obligation. It's something that you are compelled to do. Over time, it now becomes easy. It now becomes second nature. Now, the point is, when you join a community, what happens immediately is that there's pressure. There is a need to meet up. Not everybody in communities are always responding. Usually a fraction of those ones in the community are responsive. So what happens is you want to be among that group. And something a lot of writers do not take into cognizance is that you don't want to write and start waiting for the market for your book. You want to have a market for your book before you write.
I think that's a very popular mistake writers make, right? You want to have a market for your book before you write. How do you ensure that?
So how I do...
What are the strategies? Please, can we have this on? Is it possible?
So
how do we ensure you have a market for your book before?
The first thing you do is I'll hammer on it tirelessly. Join a community, like dear writer or dear anything. Anything you're passionate about, have a community that does that. They become your first markets. So I have this guy who wanted to release his poetry book, so he writes a lot of poems, and then he wants to put a book together. I told him, join my group, and begin to share your work with them. What that does immediately is that now builds that gives you a market, because they know that anything you bring out is gold. So when you now get a book, they know that book will be, full of golden eggs. They will get the book, so they become your first market, your first buyers, and they will now recommend the book. So they have their own social media platforms, and because they know you are somebody who is this quality writer and they've gotten your book, they will tell people about your book, and that's how it spreads. So the first thing you do is, number one, build community. Number two, leverage social media. Leverage social media. Let me say it again. Leverage social media. You cannot be somebody who wants to be an author that sells, and what you do on social media is to post your church flyers on social media. I don't have anything against posting your church flyers on social media.
We certainly are going raw here.
Yeah, so the point is, I see that a lot with people. They want to sell stuffs and they load their social media with memes, right? Church flyer. Check your pastor's page. Does he do that? Okay. So check your pastor's page. Does he load his social media platform with people's flyers? No, he is defined. You go to his page, and what he wants to put out is what he puts out. So if you are in support of someone like that, build your brand. Now go online, and before you publish that book, one thing you must do, which is very important, is that you have to tell people about that book. Right? So I wrote about that. I didn't mention this book I wrote. It's 𝗏𝗏, right?
Do you have some of your books here?
A good number of them are ebooks, like I said.
Oh, okay.
But I have June tunes. I brought a copy.
Can we get June tunes here?
From the back.
So while you are at it.
Yeah. So the thing is, I said number one, have a community of like minds around you, because always the companion of the wise would be wise, right? And iron sharpeneth iron, right? So you get better when you still people who are better. That's how it flows. Number two is leverage social media, right? Be that kind of person who is always pushing his or her ideas on their social media platform. So you want to do that, right? Always tell people about what you're working on before it finally comes out, so that you don't surprise the market. You prepare your market for what is coming. And
I think that's someone's breakthrough now, right? That's someone's breakthrough. Prepare the market before you make your release. Always tell people about what you want to sell, and have a community who already have trust in you. So I see Alex Hamonzi doing this. You remember he just did his very long podcast of like about how many hours, and the central goal of it was to sell book and then solve problems simultaneously. He certainly has an audience, and this audience were ready to buy his book because he was already effective before his audience, before he wrote a book. So he was already a brand before he wrote a book. So my question is for new authors. How do they go about this? I think by what you said, they can leverage on the ability to join groups,
Yes.
even not their own community, but effective group. Being effective in a group, that group is already your market already.
Yeah.
Your social media handle is already your market already,
Yeah.
right? And you might not be popular, but before you let out that book out of the bag, become popular, talk about what you want to do, post 4 times a day if possible about that particular topic, right? So I wanted us to wrap that part because there's more of that kind of question at the latter part. But let me ask this person's question. It says, many successful authors earn more outside book sales than from royalties themselves. What alternative income streams should modern writers prioritize?
Thank you. There's somebody
This is money. Listen, this is money. This is money. We are talking money now. Listen.
There's somebody I'm currently working with. She writes beautifully. I remember reading one of her book, and if I'd read the book before I made a particular decision, I would have made the decision wisely. Yeah, wiser than I did, right? But I had made the decision before I saw the book, so I regretted the actions I took before that. One of the things you do is, book sales are fine. It's good to have your book out there and then you make money from your book. But there is something I've discovered authors are not leveraging. If you know 𝗪𝗏𝗁𝗁, right? The Diary of a CEO.
I think we have his book.
His book, yeah. So
we're going to reveal it soon.
Yeah. So what you will find is that he has a podcast, right? Diary of a CEO. That's DOAC, and it has millions of views. So what he did was that he moved from just a book to having podcasts. Now, so when you have your book and your book is in the market, nothing stops you from having podcasts like this where you speak on the ideas. That's one way to drive sales for the book, right? And then it tells people that you have a solution that they have. Because that's what the podcast does. It solves problems. So when you turn your book into, what you will notice is when 𝗃𝗵𝗃 released her recent book, I've forgotten the title now. I think I'll get it before.
I'm so not good to. I'm not so familiar with.
Yeah, so I would get the title of that book. When she released the book, she started going on podcasts. She started accepting podcast invitation. What that did was that it brought her book to maybe an audience that are not familiar with her work, and then it spread. So that's what authors do. So when you publish the book, don't just stop there. Start a podcast. It may not be a podcast with sophisticated gadgets. You can just have your phone on. Thank God for the mobile smartphone. You just put your phone on and you are talking to the camera. You're going live. Right? So what you are doing is you are telling your audience or the audience that would find that podcast that you're solving their problems. Where that now moves from is that it now moves into speaking gigs. So people now meet you and say, I want you to speak to my audience about this solution you have, right? All of that, like, you pay speakers to come speak. It's a profession. It's an arm of your business. So you've now moved from being an author to becoming a speaker, and then the idea that you speak about are the things you just wrote on. So, like I say, leverage speaking. So honor podcast invitations, host your own podcast, but that is a means to an end. I want to be cognizant of that. It takes you to a point where you can get invited for events. So one of the ways you can leverage from your book without basically making sales from that book is that it can lead you to becoming a keynote speaker at an event, and then you get paid from the whole experience.
Talking about leveraging on other source of income, talking about public speaking, right?
Public speaking.
And then also interwovenly, it's a medium to drive sales back
to your book. And I've also seen authors do this. They now maybe they for example, Lawrence Oyor. What you now find is that he has a bandana, So he's a singer. He's not a writer anyway. So he's a singer. I'm still up and coming. But what I do is, that's why community is powerful. Please don't play with community. You can have people in that community who have done the thing you do. And prize is, the book I was trying to get is 𝗃𝗏𝗧𝗧𝗧 book. I think it was sold for 15,000 naira. Yeah, so usually the price of a book is determined by the brand of the author. There are books that will sell for as much as 50,000 and people will buy. But that's the brand. The author has built a brand, and having the book, like the book written by 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗧𝗧 that just making it big, that just came out. The book, everybody was talking about the book on social media. Like there's a place it puts you if you say, I've read Making It Big. Right? And then just not reading the book, because everybody who read the book spoke about the book or wrote about the book. That tells you, I didn't know other books have been written by other people, but they don't achieve that level of fame because they want to tie themselves to the brand of 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗧𝗧. I mean, I read your book, I can comment on your book. So the point is, have a community around you. In that community, people have done that thing you've done. I don't want to give you a one-size-fits-all answer to say, okay, 5,000 naira, 15,000 naira. Now, work with your community and put a price that, because the first thing you want to do with your book when you have a book is you want to immediately, right, tell the market that I have value I want to offer. So it's entrance fee. The price of 𝗃𝗏𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧's first book is not the price of her current book. She built a brand that everybody will want to read that book. Everybody wants to read what she has. And if you follow her a lot, find out that she kept giving ideas of the book she was working on before she put the book out.
Actually, yes.
We spoke about that. Don't surprise your audience or the market. Prepare them for the book you want to sell. So the point is, have a community where you can rub minds and say, this is the book I want to do. Have people you can ask and say, okay, how much will this book do?
Do you think the income worth of your community affects the book how much you sell your book? And do you think the quality of the message or knowledge in the book, does it really affect the cost?
Now let's be clear. Knowledge is becoming more free as the day goes by. There's almost nothing you want solutions to that you will not get on YouTube for free.
Okay.
𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧, Apostle 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧, on his platform, YouTube platform, you see him bringing guests and then they're speaking on core subject, declassified. There are things you would, the things he makes his guests, speak on, are things you pay a lot of money for, but he gives all of them to you for free, right? So one of the things you should be very clear about is what you want the market to know. This is a substitute for it, a valuable substitute for it that is going out for free. Right? So, but if it's a paperback book, I would say you look at the cost of production. Usually a publisher will walk you through it. The cost of getting a copy of it, that will now define how much, because you don't want to charge yourself. You don't want to have a case where you underprice the book. So the book cost of production for the book is 5,000 naira, and you're saying the book is 2,000 naira. You are losing. So you want the cost of production, you want the return on investment, that's the profits, to be more than the cost of it. So if it's an ebook, the price is arbitrary. It's dependent on your brand. So you can have people who sell a 10-page book, that's self-help books, for as much as 15,000 naira, and they have an audience that buys them. Do you get? So the price, when it's a soft copy book, an ebook, the price is usually arbitrary. It's dependent on your brand. But when the book is a paperback book, it will be influenced by the cost of production, and that matters, the cost of production and some other things that proceeds from all of that. So the cost of production for paperback books matter. But when it comes to whatever the case is, you want to make money. But when you're starting in the journey, you don't want to write a book and put it out there that people who do not know you would have to break the bank to buy.
So this takes me to the next question. The question I want to ask now is, so many writers are leveraging different sites to publish their book, right? In fact, so many writers would come to a section where we actually talk about bloggers, and then we talk about freelancers, different kind of writings, content writing, article writing, ghost writing. We will certainly come to that section. I want us to deal with writers of books right now. So what is the best site currently for selling your book?
Okay.
What would you as a person, what would you take as the best site for selling your book?
So there are quite a lot of sites where people sell their books now. But I don't want to agree with the word best sites, because when you say best sites, there are these sites that we see have sellers or authors who do not get sales on their books. So Amazon, is the time people were saying your book has to be on Amazon, Amazon KDP. It was a time it was just everywhere and everywhere. So if you have a book, you have to be. There are people who are on Amazon who have not sold anything. Very good writers, they've not made any sale on their book. And the reason is, what's more important than, it's not, I've not seen where a category for best writing author. I've not seen one. Is best-selling author. The author sells his book, or he has a company that helps him do it. So whatever site you put your book in, what matters is your sales skill. That's why I was saying much earlier that don't surprise your market. Don't try it and say you want to shock them. You have this bad book that everybody must read, and so you want to. The thing, they will shock you, because if you've release the book, it's so many in the store, and then you're now struggling to sell. So prepare your market. Now there is Amazon KDP. Why Amazon KDP is a good option is that it has a lot of buyers, right? It's an American company, and America is the biggest consumer market in the world, right? And they have the capital to pay. That's why every manufacturer wants to put their products in America, because they have funds. It's a system that runs on the credit style. So somebody just has a credit card. We run debit card in Nigeria. You have a debit card, right? But they have a credit card. The credit card can be wired with as much as $1,000, and then they will pay much later. So that's the kind of system. So they have a lot of money at their disposal to buy stuff. So it's the biggest consumer market. Amazon KDP will do a lot for you. But the other side, there is Bumpa, BUMPA.
Please take note. Yeah.
There is seller.com, right? Shopify sells book too, so there's Shopify. But when you go to whatever platform you want to use, particularly, let me talk about Seller, because that's the one I patronize a lot. They host your book, you do the selling. Do you understand? So what it does is it hosts your book, but you drive the traffic yourself there. That's why authors is somebody a friend of mine, he writes poetry in the UK, that we've worked together for quite some time on his book. One of the things he said to me one time was the fact that he takes his book on his head. So he writes his book and is always chasing where there is maybe a book festival, a book event, and he takes his book there to go and sell, and he sells his book crazily. So the author has to be a seller. So don't be somebody who just writes the book.
I think
sell.
It is ironical now. Let's get this straight. Best selling what?
Author. It's not best writing author.
Not best writing author, not best selling app.
No.
It is best-selling author.
Sales.
Meaning you are responsible for the sales.
You are
responsible for the sales. So I was going to, someone asked a question here, and the question is, yes, let me take it backward a little. It says, what strategy helps a book continue generating sales, influence, and relevance after years of being launched? I think that it's very applicable. We've spoken about the sequence. You first of all release your book, but don't release your book without a market, right? Build a market, release your book, become a voice, public speaking, and then have other products, subsidiary products, and then you can move into hosting events, right? Because you are a thought mover, right? You are an ideology yourself, right? And you want people to hear this. And then you get invites, right? So that helps transcend from just book writing. So let me ask this question. It says, despite advances in AI, what irreplaceable advantage do human writers still possess in areas such as storytelling and emotional depth, persuasion, and cultural influence?
Please, fellow writers, let's not be AI averse. That's a concept. AI aversion is the idea that AI will replace your authenticity. There was a recent competition, literary competition, where an AI-generated book came first. Excuse me, AI will beat you. I learned that early, and then it helped me not to compete with AI, but to partner with AI. Now, for my poems, I try not to use AI. That's a personal decision. It is not a let me be clear. It is not a moral decision. It's not like it is moral not to use AI in your writing. Who defined it?
Immorality.
Which chapter and which verse is it in the Bible or the Quran? It's not clear. The point is, but in all of what AI is doing, let's have a system where we do not allow AI do the job. But this is just me saying, I know of people who generate a whole book with Claude AI, and this book is in the market and it's making money. And a book that, because at the end of the day, you want to make money from your book. Okay.
Oh, certainly. Oh, please.
Maybe if you are the last daughter, and then that is
to make money.
That is bankrolling you. You know, there are businesses people do for fun. The husband or the wife or the father or the mother just say, try not be staying at home. We are going to do. So if you make losses or not, you are still fine. You still pay your staff. But if you are doing this for money, AI is here to assist writers. Please, I want us to own that idea. Some of us have not agreed with it. We are fighting AI in our writing. I'm saying AI can help you sharpen your work, but it's not a problem if you don't want to use AI. But don't demonize people who use it, because they will outdo you in the market. And at the end of the day, when you bring there are people who say things like they can tell an AI-generated work. The person who gives you that work is a bad prompter. There are excellent prompters that will give you something that under heaven you will not tell the difference. It's just the prompting skill of I said an AI-generated book won the competition in the the storytelling category of a book competition. The AI-generated book won. Do we get that? So AI is, and this is something that is beginning to frighten writers, that AI is getting to a point, it's getting so good. It's a time where you could tell AI writing, but we are transitioning. So the mindset I want writers to carry, like I carry, is AI is there to help us. AI is there to sharpen our skills. AI is there to work as an assistant. The same way I would write a book and hand it over to someone to do better reading, someone to edit or proofread. AI is now that person, but cheaper and more available.
Thank you. So let's answer this person's question. He says, some authors evolve from writers into founders of movements, companies, or global community. What separates authors who simply publish books from those who build influential brands?
Okay, I think that's the phase I want to transition into, to lead movements like that. But one thing I've noticed with them is a guy called Friedrich Nietzsche. He's a German, he wrote a book that would go on to influence somebody like Adolf Hitler, that now did the First World War, you know, decimated over 2 million Jews. That's one person who wrote a book. Books are powerful. Don't play with books. Yeah? A lot of the wars that has begun in the world usually started from writings. Someone wrote a book, it influenced the next person, and the person went on to. There's this book I will never. It's the best book I've read after the Bible. It is titled Mastery by Robert Greene. Oh, that book changed my life. It was after I read that book that I started my 100 Days Poetry Challenge. The book took me to a point where I said that, and I did it. I sustained. It hardly happens that you take actions after books. That book was it for me. I did 100 Days Poetry Challenge. I wrote a poem every day for the next 100 days after reading that book. It changed the way I do stuff. The point is, you want to be an author, please be that kind of author that solves a problem. That's what I want authors to look at, is whether it is a novel, a play, or a poem, whether it's a self-help book, whatever the book is, your goal is to solve a problem. Chimamanda, when she writes a book on feminism, she's not just writing a book on feminism, she's not just writing a book for writing's sake. She's writing a book to challenge our thinking, to say, let us be more flexible in the way we see gender roles. Because that's what a book does. It makes you question. It's a book that people would not forget, making it big. $30, for example. Who don't read?
What should spoil my titling? Let's start from the title, right? Before we go to the graphics at the back of the cover. What should spoil my title? Okay, I recently wrote a book and I don't know. Let me ask a question. I'm just going to tell you the name of the book and you're going to tell me what comes to your mind first. So I'll know if I got the name wrong, right? Then you are going to tell me what we can do better about the name. The name of the book is The Sovereign Brand.
The Sovereign Brand. Okay.
I have not published it.
Yeah, and this is what you should do. Test your titles with your audience.
Okay.
Please don't shock people. Let me reiterate it. Don't. I have learnt this thing from experience, and I try to preach it to people. Don't shock anybody with anything now. Nobody has time for you to let them know and tell. Human beings, we forget a lot. We forget that we forget. Clock it. So we forget that we forget. Now, the point is, keep telling people what you do. Keep telling people what you do. Over time, it becomes the idea in their head. So you rent a space in their head. Now, your title should do that. When I hear a title like The Sovereign Brand, what comes to my mind is you're writing a book for people who want to. So I'm seeing emerging brands, people that want to build a brand that would go on to dominate other brands. Right, so it's more of like a self-help book for somebody who wants to leverage social media to build something that people can, gravitate towards, and that brand makes a lot of money in the process.
So let's go practical. Are we five? Okay, let's go practical. Now I'm going to tell you what the book is about. I'm going to try to give me various kind of names. We're going practical now. Right. So the book is about how to make your brand visible, how to make your brand outstanding, even in the advent of AI, in an AI age, how to infuse AI to making your brand outstanding, and also the human part, the very key unreplaceable human part in creating your brand. For example, people kind of leave AI to do all the work, but humans' role are for inspection. One of the key things that the book talks about, and it gives a work frame on how you can use AI and how you can use human and where these two meet. What would you name it?
Okay, I like the fact that your book is saying let's work with AI. If it was saying let's work without AI, I'll say the book will die. Yes, true. If anybody who has any idea that is averse, I saw somebody who said AI is the Antichrist. God bless you. God bless your heart. Yeah, God bless your heart. So the point is, you want the title I would give that is
Think.
I would say branding with AI. Anything that has the word, that's abbreviation AI in it now sells. Anything you do, even speaking. There are speakers who, when they sell their speaking gigs, they add AI. Something how to do this with AI. So you want a title that has AI in it, that has brand in it, that has becoming in it, right? So if you put that together, I'll say something like, and this is where, please, there's some of the things we do. It's good that we are creative thinkers, but AI can help us do a lot of this. So I can basically I'm trying to say for the average person who wants titles, you could basically tell AI what you want, and AI would give you, and tell it, give me 1,000 titles. And then rather than now coming up with, I'm not trying to escape the question, so is it rather than trying to come up with something, right, which is what I'm trying to do now, is I can just give it to AI do the thinking for me, and then I choose the best. So I would say becoming a powerful brand with AI.
Becoming a powerful brand
or becoming a feared brand with AI. The point is, what I want to do with my title is, I want my title to be memorable. I want a title that is memorable and a title that rents a space in the head of my reader. I want something that when they see it, they cannot unsee it. So becoming a feared brand with AI, or
okay, let me rephrase this question this way. This is one of the last 3 questions we'll be asking before we call this a wrap.
Oh, I've enjoyed myself thoroughly.
The pleasure is all ours. So, I've heard people say your title should be very simple. Your title should carry key phrase. Your title should be very outspoken about what the content of the book should be. So, for you, what is it?
The title should be memorable.
1.
The title should pique interests. It should incite an emotional release. You want something that is emotionally moving, right? That's what you also find when it comes to caption. That's why I said AI is there to assist, in doing all of this branding thing, this titling thing. Tell it to give you like 60 title ideas, and then it gives you. But the kind of title you want to choose is the one that is, you want. Someone wrote a book, I've forgotten his name now, The 3 Minutes World. That's the title of the book. How do you rent a space? How do you go viral? You want something that would make people laugh, right? So when I was thinking about the title for my book, I said, sell yourself. And in the book, the cover of the book is a picture of me that has a price tag, $50 billion. So we'll talk about the design of your cover shortly, but you want a title that is memorable, a title that piques interest, a title that makes people, react emotionally, or emotionally more than logically. You don't want, because not everybody has the time to think in Nigeria these days. So you want a title that
gives it all, that gives it what it is.
Yes, a title also that gives the reader a foretaste of what is coming in the book. So you don't want to have a book about cows and your title speaks to pigs. It's a mismatch. People would go to the next book not knowing that what they need is in that book because you titled wrongly. Because people meet your title before they meet the contents.
Now, I've seen this book on. I would be very direct. This book on the subtle art of not giving an F. I'm sure a lot of that book is so absurd, attention grabbing, and it tells everything, almost everything in the book. He keeps repeating the F word, right? So we were talking initially. We had a conversation prior to this live. We had a conversation prior to this live, and the conversation we had was, you were telling me about a new writer, a new author should not do the cover of his page like this. Are you with me, Mr. Lawal?
Yes, sir.
You're telling me that a new author should not do the cover of his page like this. What are your reasons? And can you please tell the audience why and why should not?
So I love Stephen Bartlett. I watch his podcast I watch it sleep and I sleep off watching it. Powerful author, but he has built an audience, and even if he doesn't title the book and he just puts his name there, the book will sell. That's how good of an author he is, right? Let's be clear. Now, this book will not, for an emerging author, this book will not sell. The reason is because it's too plain. There is nothing, it doesn't give me a foretaste of what is in this book. But he has built a brand, and because it has his name, it may not be a person who sat down to write the book, but as long as it has his name and he puts it on his channel, it will make 1 million sales that week because of who he is. Now, when you are emerging, you want a very colorful title, because like I said, people don't buy books, they buy solutions to their problems, right? And the cover is one way to sell your book. The title just said, a title that is memorable, that makes a person have certain emotional release when they get that book. A title that they want to talk about to their friend. Have you seen that book? I saw a book. Oh, this was the book. This was, a book that makes people laugh, smile, get angry. These are the books that they would naturally, because people make decisions emotionally and justify them logically. So they make decisions emotionally and they justify it logically.
So as an author, the title and the front page should appeal to their emotional logic, which emotions.
You don't want to do logic.
Now you were telling me about a book that has purple.
Yes, that's that's Seth Godin, the Purple Cow.
The Purple Cow.
The Purple Cow. Purple Cow. And how the book even comes, the book comes like a dairy milk. You know how they package these yogurts.
Yeah.
That's how the book is packaged in. So the book comes like it's yogurts. So the branding is intentional. When you now take the book, you'll see that it has cows, dairy cows, and then there is a purple one. When you see that, it's interesting. You want a book that somebody will carry around and people will say things like, nice book, let me see. And just seeing the cover of it, it makes them want to get the book.
Now, this is very contradictory. Now, there are some books that tells you about the content. There are some books that goes contradictory on the cover, but do not tell you about the content, but are wow on the cover. Like the Purple Cow. Right? The Purple Cow on itself, if you open the page, that's a metaphor.
Yes.
A metaphor for, okay, like stand out.
Yeah, be different.
The ability to stand alone and then follow a course line of action, right? But there are certain books, okay, so this is an example of a book. There are certain books that go, so my advice is, if you are going to get a cover which is contradictory to the content inside, it must be wow. And it should not be far-fetched like the Purple Cow. But this is what I want us to do for a wrap now. I'm going to give you each and every of this book. You are going to make an observation of how what is on it relates to what is inside, or what should have been done better.
Okay.
So let's start.
So the Diary of a CEO. If I were to design this, or if this is my book and I'm not Stephen,
you don't have
anyway,
this portfolio
brand. So what I will do is I would have someone on the cover who dresses like a CEO, somebody very smart, somebody in his tuxedo, maybe sitting in an executive office. So that's what I would want to have. So when I see it, I would, like the person is on his seat and then it's writing. It's something about a CEO who I'd want to be. So you want, for this book, I would have a title that tells the reader of something they want to be. They want to be a CEO like the guy on the cover. That's what I would have done.
Probably giving that imagination that, the CEO wrote this for you to become like him.
Yes. Yes.
Appealing to their emotions, right?
So the guy is handsome, or the lady is handsome, beautiful. Like they must be. You must select them to spec, like what the average person calls beautiful or handsome. That's what the person is, and person is dressed smartly, and person cannot wear agbada, excuse me. Person has to, so that matters too. Person has to put on a tuxedo, like a very good suit, very sharp, and the tactics of the environment should be eye-catching enough. When I
please explain to us, right? I know you've mentioned primary colors when it comes to psychology of money. Please explain to us, at what point do we know we have to write a little excerpt on our book, like little excerpts that talks about, like here it says the $1 million weekend. Seriously, I wouldn't know what this really is if you tell me $1 million weekend. I don't know about you, but it won't tell me anything. $1 million weekend, and then there's a snap.
Yeah, the idea is you can get it as fast as
snap, right?
Because when we do this, is to say fast. So you're saying you would, and I like the title, because the title is something the average person wants. You know, you want to have $1 million weekend. You want to make $1 million in a weekend. Like, I want to have. Look at how that would be. Look at what that does now is it's playing with my emotions now.
point do you want us to continue, please? Okay, so
So at what point do you add these short things, writings on your cover? You want to do that particularly when you know it would help the title, right? So now this is $1 Million Weekend. There are many ideas in my head, like how do I do that? You know, do I scam somebody? Is it a book about scamming? Is it a book about what kind of business? So what the title does is
these subtitles.
The subtitles. What it does is it narrows the emotional release I had. So it's a business I can start in 48 hours that picks up, you know. So, and the things I need to do, like you said now, the simple things I need to do to launch a business that kicks off in 48 hours and then would make me have a $1 million weekend.
And with a $1 million weekend, we are almost at the end of this episode, and we are very grateful to everyone who has followed thus far. And if you have followed thus far and you found any section or any bit of this conversation interesting, indicting, compelling, please do well to subscribe and follow, because subsequently we will be having more of this. Yep. Subsequently we'll be having more of this. So do well to subscribe and follow. So this is Mr. Lawal Eneye. I think in the description we are going to add a seller link to June Tunes, as long as story, and most importantly, every writer needs that writing book. I tell you, every writer needs that writing book. You need to dare to write. You need to. Your writing companion, you need to dare to write. So, Mr. Lawal, is there anything you want to say to?
Okay, I've had a very interesting time on the podcasts. Mr. 𝗃𝗂𝗊𝗁 is an amazing interviewer. We've gone through different aspects of the conversation with regards to book writing, with regards to, you know, how to put yourself out there. The thing I would want to leave with anybody who have followed from the beginning of our conversation to this point is, okay, let me say three things. The first one is, don't wait for passion before you write.
Don't wait for passion.
Please don't wait to, another way to say it is, don't wait until you have a voice before you write. You can find your voice as you go by. Right? So when you wait for passion, or you wait for someone or something to speak to you before you know what it is you want to do with your life, that's, I think the Bible puts it beautifully. It says that when you are faithful in another man, God will, if you're not faithful in that it's another man's, who will give you that which is yours? The answer is not me, that's God, right? So that thing that you want to do it. That idea you have, particularly that solves a problem, one of the things you should do is you should go on with your idea. So the first thing is, don't be motivated by passion, just write to solve a problem. Number two, build a healthy community around you. Join one if you cannot build one. Me, I would say build, but if you cannot build a community, join one. Nothing stops you from joining a group online that has the same interests as you. What it does is that it makes writing less of a spontaneous activity to something you have to do, and when you have to do something, it becomes second nature over time. Number three, don't shock the market. Don't be somebody who wants to surprise the market. Let people know what it is you are doing from your title. Start playing with your title and say, I want to do this book, this is what is happening, this is what the book will solve. Now look at this title, which one do you, particularly that's where having a community works, right? This is a title, which one do you like, which so you can play with like 5 titles, do like a carousel, right? And then you do like, so which of these titles do you want? When the most liked one is the one that eventually becomes the title of the book. So the market is telling you what they want. You can also play the same way with your book cover. Make them go through your book covers and then choose the book cover that they like. What that does is you are putting your idea, your product in their mind, so that when the book comes out, they're not surprised. They are waiting for it, and they're waiting to put money there. And I said 3, but let me add this one. People are buying books, but what people pay for more are solutions to their problems. When you have a solution to the problem of people and you put that solution in a book, it will not suffer in the markets.
And I would add to this one, please tell them directly in simple terms what solution is in the book. Don't make your write-up or your title ambiguous. Don't make them overthink. Don't make them think twice. It's inside the book you can make them think twice, not on the cover. And try as much as possible not to use ambiguous words. Primary colors, don't forget. And if you have followed us far, we're saying thank you for following Spoking. Thank you for subscribing, whatsoever channel and whatsoever medium you are seeing this from. Thank you. We are at 𝗃𝗏 Studios, and this is where we've streamed today. Sometimes we might be in our parlor, you know. Sometimes we might be in our parlor. Sometimes we might just be in your street. Please subscribe. Thank you so much, Mr. Lawal. Thank you. It's a privilege.
An awesome honor.
It's a privilege.
Thank you, sir.
Always.
Awesome,
Always. I did ask you that question.